Hello, Yates County and beyond. Welcome back to another episode of Invasive Species Friday. In this short weekly podcast, we at the Yates CCE hope to bring you information about the invasive species you may see around this county. We're growing tall with this week's invasive, Norway Maple. Norway maples, also known by their most common cultivar, the Crimson King, are native to Europe and Western Asia. They were brought over as ornamental shade trees and quickly escaped due to their abundant winged seeds. The first report of them in the United States was in 1756, when botanist John Bartram got seeds from England and began cultivating them in his garden and nursery in Philadelphia. They started to appear in various nursery catalogs in New York City and Northern California and quickly became popular. In the 1970s and 80s, they were heavily planted in many cities to replace the elm trees lining streets that had died from Dutch elm disease. Norway maples drop a ton of seeds that spread by wind dispersal, much like the native maples, but can't make it too far. This means it's common to find dense colonies of them in and around forests. Unlike many invasives around here, these trees don't need to wait for disturbed ground to begin sprouting. They're very shade tolerant as well, and grow relatively fast, quickly overtaking native plants and other trees. This creates a sunlight problem for the native plants, taking away what light filtered through the forest canopy with its dense structure. Studies have shown that the plant diversity under a Norway maple is significantly less than under native maples. The shallow roots of this maple also make it difficult for shrubs and wildflowers to establish underneath, and the roots are capable of doing serious damage to sidewalks and roads. There is some evidence of allelopathic tendencies as well, but the tree's ability to chemically inhibit the growth of plants around it has not been confirmed. With the abundance of maples in New York State, how can you tell the Norway from the natives? Norway maples typically reach 40 to 60 feet tall, but can grow even taller. The bark is olive to light brown in young trees, turning gray and furrowed with age. They bloom in May, and the tiny yellow-green flowers grow in loose, upright clusters. The flowers are typically gone when the leaves start to emerge. Norway maples leaf out earlier than other maples, with their dark green leaves growing 4 to 7 inches wide. The leaves have 5 to 7 lobes and are in opposite pairs along twigs. In the fall, the leaves typically turn a pale yellow, but the popular Crimson King turns a deep reddish purple instead. They hold on to their leaves a lot later into the fall than the native trees and shrubs. Also dropping in the autumn are the double-winged samaras, or helicopter seeds. The two wings are connected at a much wider angle than the native maples, which are V-shaped. The Norway seed's wings are nearly straight across from each other. If we take a closer look at native maples, there are some other key differences that will make distinguishing them from the invasive easier. Norway maple leaf lobes are pointed, but the leaf margins are smooth. Red maple leaves are often much smaller and have finely and irregularly serrated margins. True to their name, red maples have red twigs, red flowers, and their leaves turn vibrant red earlier in the fall. The seeds of the red maple are smaller, also bright red, and are already formed by the time the tree begins to leaf out. Norway maple seeds don't form until well after the tree is covered in leaves. Silver maple leaves are deeply lobed and irregularly serrated, and while green on top, have a silvery green color on the underside. Their seeds are larger, like the Norway maple, but the wings are connected at a 90-degree angle. And finally, we have the sugar maples, which are the closest look-alike to the Norway maple. Sugar maple leaves have 5 lobes, with the side lobes usually much smaller than the front 3 lobes. Their seeds are much rounder than the flat Norway maples, and their flower clusters droop rather than sit upright. In the fall, sugar maples often start to change color earlier, and the color can be variable, often including reds and oranges. If you're really struggling to figure out which maple you're looking at, try breaking a leaf off at the petiole, the stalk where the leaf meets the branch. If it leaks milky white sap, it's a Norway maple. Now that you know how to identify this week's invasive, let's talk about how you can get rid of them. Seedlings are easy to pull up and dispose of. Saplings are a little bit harder, but using a lever can help. Cutting saplings may result in resprouts, so make sure to keep an eye on the area after. Just cutting larger trees almost always leads to resprouting, so make sure to combine treatments and use a concentrated herbicide. Without the added chemical control, you will be cutting resprouts for years. In places where Norway maple is providing valuable shade, like in urban or suburban areas, gradually removing the invasive and planting native trees is a popular phase-out control method. And with that, we reach the end of this week's episode of Invasive Species Friday. Next Friday, we're battling an explosive weed. Until then, we at the Yates CCE thank you for tuning in and supporting our fight against invasive species in Yates County.